start with the Russia-Ukraine war. It's intensifying. Last night we told you about the drone attacks on the Kremlin. Moscow said it was an assassination attempt on President Putin. Tonight we can tell you that the Russian retaliation has begun. Russia is going after not just Ukraine but the US too. The Kremlin today pretty much called Washington the mastermind of this attack. And it's striking Ukraine hard. Russia has launched a wave of drones and Ukrainian air defenses are working overtime to fend them off. It started with a bombshell of a claim from Russia that Ukraine had ordered an assassination bid on Vladimir Putin. Ukraine, though, has denied any role. Their President Zelensky is traveling through Europe, and this is what he had to say.
We don't attack Putin or Moscow. We fight on our territory. We are defending our villages and cities. We don't have, enough weapons for this.
Russia is having none of it, though. It has intensified airstrikes. Explosions were heard across Ukraine today, from Kiev to Zaporizhia, from Odessa to Kherson. Civilians reported loud blasts across Ukrainian cities. These attacks are being called revenge strikes. Some of the drones that fell in Odessa had inscriptions. They said, "For Moscow" and "For the Kremlin." So far, no serious casualties have been reported, but dozens are said to have been injured. People have been forced to move out of their homes. In Kherson, for example, scores of people were evacuated today. They left the city in buses. A 58-hour curfew has been imposed in Kherson. Those who haven't left are stocking up on food supplies and other essentials. What about Kiev? How is the Ukrainian capital faring? Locals are taking refuge in underground metro stations. They fear that Moscow will intensify attacks.
I don't think it was Ukraine that carried out the attack. The Russians tend to attack their own territory and then blame us, so that the West reacts and we turn out to be the aggressor instead of them.
Anything is possible. As long as Ukraine doesn't officially confirm that this was an attack carried out by us, there can be many theories as to who did it.
It isn't just Ukraine that's under attack, though. There was a drone strike in Russia, too. The target, an oil refinery in Krasnodar. This is in southern Russia. It's near a bridge that links mainland Russia with Crimea. Russian media says a drone struck this facility. Pictures from the ground show a huge blaze. Now, it's not clear what happened and who was behind it, but this is not a first. This region has seen such attacks before. Last weekend, for instance, there was another drone strike. This was at the Crimean port of Sevastopol. A Russian fuel storage facility was attacked. Moscow blamed Kiev for it. And in recent weeks and months, there have been a wave of such attacks. In some instances, drones came dangerously close to Moscow. Ukraine is believed to be behind these operations, but it's never taken responsibility for any of this. Now, Russia says there was an assassination bid on their president, and they won't take it lying low. Moscow has ordered an investigation. They've set up a committee for this. And they're calling this drone attack a terrorist act. And they're also blaming the US for it. The Kremlin says the plot to assassinate Putin was hatched in the US.
These attempts to disown this, both by Kiev and by Washington, are of course absolutely ridiculous. We know very well that decisions about such actions, about such terrorist attacks, are made not in Kiev but in Washington. And Kiev does what it is told to. We know that often even the goals themselves are not determined by Kiev, but they're determined in Washington and then taken to Kiev so that Kiev implements them. Not every time Kiev is given the right to choose means. This is also often dictated from across the ocean. We know this well and we are aware of this. To divide them by two or not, it does not matter to us. But in Washington, they must clearly understand we know this, that they are behind the attack.
What do you think was America's response? The White House has called the Kremlin's comment, quote-unquote, ridiculous. As for the assassination claim, the US says it cannot confirm Russia's version. Listen to this.
So we are aware of the reports, but are unable to confirm the authenticity of them at this time. And so I don't want to get into speculation from here about what happened, but we are indeed aware of the reports.
The US State Department also said something on similar lines, which is a bit strange because, come to think of it, a country like America, with its vast intelligence apparatus, cannot make up its mind on what happened here. What about Zelensky? What is the Ukrainian president up to? While his citizens are under attack, Zelensky has extended his trip to Europe. Yesterday he was in Finland. Today he was in The Hague. He visited the International Criminal Court, the ICC, the same court that issued an arrest warrant against Vladimir Putin. The ICC is investigating alleged Russian war crimes. The perfect platform for Zelensky to deliver yet another speech. Today he accused Russia of 6,000 war crimes. You heard that right, 6,000 war crimes. Zelensky said Ukraine did not choose this war, but Kiev will make it the last conflict.
Of course, we all want to see different Vladimir here, in The Hague. The one who deserves to be sentenced for these criminal actions right here in the capital of the international law. And I'm sure we will see that happen when we win. And we will win.
So far, Zelensky's speeches have failed to move the needle. This war is set to intensify. Russia is hitting back hard. Ukraine is planning a counteroffensive. By the looks of it, we can expect more fighting in the days ahead.